and welcome back to Forza Motorsport 7. And when it comes to tradition, no one knows that better than Porsche. While everybody else is building mid-engine V8s, V12s, or turbochargers, or superchargers, or whatever, Porsche comes along and gives us a 911 GT3 RS. A rear-engined, flat-six, that with no turbochargers or superchargers. And in 2016, when they made the updated version of that, it was a fantastic machine. 4-wheel steering, rear-wheel drive, same iconic Porsche as always. Fantastic car to drive. And now we have both the 2016 and the 2019 versions of the GT3 RS. And yeah, I thought, well, the GT3 RS was already a fantastic car from the beginning. So, and this new one is only 15 PI points higher. Why do we need that one? What's the point of it in this game? Very similar to the Civic and the 2016 Civic Type Rs. So, I did a bit of an investigation and I put the two Porsche GT3 RSs head-to-head. Now, to start off with, we went to Sonoma for some lap time testing. This is the Grand Prix circuit because it has the longest straight of any Sonoma layout in the game. It has two relatively long high-speed zones. And I wanted a nice little balance, so that's why I went here. And this is the 2016, obviously. And I start with here instead of a comparison with looks because, well, they look exactly the same, except one of them says GT3 RS on the side of them, and one of them does not. Everything else is basically identical. They're both 911s, they're both rear-wheel drive, they are both powered by flat sixes, they both have the same body style, they both have rear-wheel steering. They're pretty much identical in every way except for the engine. You see, this 2016 variant had the exact same amount of horsepower as the 2004. Which is 493 horsepower, which is not bad for a naturally aspirated engine, much as a flat six. And the new one has 520 horsepower from a naturally aspirated flat six. How they did that sorcery is unknown to science and physics, but it probably has something to do with the 9,500 RPM redline, which is mental. I mean, very few cars redline over 9,000. Yeah, cue the meme, even that's a very old line now. But, it is mental, and this track here, despite these cars being glorious cars to drive, I love driving both of these cars. This track is very challenging because it is ridiculously bumpy. And it posed a very difficult drive for these cars, and these cars are very good handling, and you can see them squirming around, going on the grass, because it is such a demanding track. And this 2016 911, well, it handled like a 911, it handled perfectly. Even in adverse conditions, I was able to get a pretty decent lap time out of it. Now, the new GT3 RS, which you can tell is a new one because it says GT3 RS, and is lime green. The Porsche 911s have always had crazy color schemes. The new one, the 2016 version, looks to be in bright purple, and now this one can be in lime green. I must say, it actually looks very good for being in lime green. I think it's a fantastic looking car. And handling-wise, well, it's the exact same as the 2016. It's perfect. It's everything you want. It's everything I want out of a car. It's fun, you can slide the back end around if you so desire, which I'm not right now. It's got good traction, good braking, its handling is impeccable, even on the bumpiest of circuits, aka this one. And yeah, it's just perfect. So, what makes it better? Well, the horsepower, I mentioned it earlier, has over 20 horsepower more than the older model. And that is a sizable amount when you're comparing these cars. Sure, their top speeds are basically identical, same thing with their 0 to 60 times, but how it matters is that gearing and acceleration out of corners. That like 80 to 130 mile an hour acceleration is phenomenally better in this car. And it could reach speeds of, it could reach 7 or 8 miles an hour faster than the older generation, which doesn't seem like a lot. But around a track, which doesn't have that long of straights, it's crazy fast. It's mental. And yeah, that pretty much made all the difference. Because think about it. If your cars handle identical, which are both perfect, and they brake identical, which is both perfect, then what is the ultimate deciding factor? Which one is faster? And this one is faster, at least in the mid-range acceleration, which is why it managed to do this lap time, which you will now see right now. The new 911 did a 141.05, while the old 911 did a 142.09. It's 1 second faster. And sure, that's not quite the 3 seconds that the Civic made up, but think about it this way. The Civic wasn't quite as performance-based from the previous generation. Like, these two cars are mental. They're pushing supercar territory here. And that's a pretty high standard to go faster, a second faster, because a second is massive in racing, as you will find out later on in this very video. It's crazy how fast, just perfection. This is rear engine, naturally aspirated, and to do a 141 around here is crazy. You wouldn't expect that, and yet it delivers. It is a mental car, and it's gonna be interesting how this much faster 911 races its older counterpart in drag racing and circuit racing. And the Skittles bag of many colors was off at Yas Marina, and the racing was to be exquisite. 12 cars of the new generation, 12 cars of the older generation would be racing for 5 laps and the corkscrew circuit, and it was fantastic. Not only were there a wide variety of colors: silver, orange, green, purple, blue. Yeah, another option is lime blue. I managed to sneak to the inside of an older generation as he outbrakes himself, and I'm immediately 2 wide, 3 wide as a black GT3 flies past, running a bit wide. And now begins to drag race. You can see how much faster that silver car is an older generation. He does get me under brakes, but you can see how much faster it is. And very expensive racing here. These cars are about $200,000, and we're not exactly being very gentle with them. A few cars ran wide, scraped the wall a little bit. It was fantastic. The opening lap was as chaotic as you would hope it to be while still being clean. It's 3 wide heading in to the end of the straight, and we just about all make it work until they lock wheels and drive off holding hands. It's 2 wide back, more 2 wide. I'm going 2 wide in older generation, and he does have the inside line. I don't have anywhere to go. I try to go to the inside, can't really make that work. That's a little too risky. Get a little bit of a tap. He tries to go around the outside of me, and that's just not going to work. He runs wide, and in his efforts to try and get past, he crashes into the wall. Bit unfortunate how that ended, but that is how racing works. That's a very expensive accident for sure. Right in the mid path, we have, well, a very large group of distinctive 911s. As an older model, I think the one that tried to overtake me, tries to go on the outside of a newer bright orange GT3. And doesn't quite work. Tries to go to the inside. That doesn't work. He shuts the door on him. And now the older GT3 is under threat from another old GT3. This one is a white one. And yeah, we were seeing this throughout the field. The new ones were just that little bit better overall. The older ones were still putting up a pretty darn good fight, but you can tell, especially down the straight, they weren't quite as good as the newer generation. Sorry, that doesn't stop them from getting in the slipstream, because these cars are very slow in the supercar world. So you can still get mega slipstream off of them and get massive speed. This guy's about to get mugged by 2 cars. Doesn't quite. He defends his position on both cars as the other guy dives too wide to try and catch him. But then he has that outside acceleration. Yeah, it was very interesting. Slipstreaming was incredibly effective on these cars, both old and new, because they are less than 530 horsepower. Any amount of slipstream was massive. You can see he's already right on the back of him. But he dives in a little too deep and loses a bit of time, gets a bit slow. However, he does get a benefit when the guy bounces off the wall. That is generally a benefit in order to overtake. Yeah, it was good fun. Further back, it was a multicolored mayhem, as a green, a blue, and an orange GT3 were all really close together, real fighting it out in the opening laps, first 2 laps of this 5-lap race. 2 of them being the new cars, 1 of them being the old model. I say old, it's 2016, but it is, as we saw earlier, considerably slower, helped by the green car not knowing how to racetrack. I don't know. These guys are on unbeatable difficulty. I can't make them be any better. It's strange, okay? I don't know how it works, but now he is under threat from the orange model is under threat from a black 911, and yeah, battles are going on all over the place in this field. It was very, very good fun. I think that's the proper word to describe it. Very good fun indeed. Now, as for me, I had overtaken 3rd place, which was the last of the 2016 GT3s, becoming a 2019 first, 2nd, and 3rd. And then I used a mega slipstream to catch the 2nd place bright blue 2019 GT3 RS. Yeah, the color schemes were just fantastic. You can see the 4th place purple 2016 model. Gotta love the Porsche color schemes. I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm okay with it. Yeah, it was absolutely mad, and I was catching 1st place rapidly. I was very fast in this car. I love this car. It's quite possible. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite vehicles to drive. You can see I'm on maximum attack, because there's only 2 more laps left. This is like 3/4 of the way through the race, 80% of the way through the race. And I go to the inside, just about shut the door on him, go through the gap, and then I can just carry so much corner speed and brake so late. The new 911 is a incredible car to drive. It's one of my favorite cars to drive. Like, just driving. It's glorious. It is an absolutely perfect car, and when you're revving it max RPM, you really can't go wrong with that naturally aspirated flat 6. Oh, it's a fantastic engine. Fantastic engine, fantastic car. And I would be leading onto the final lap, and I really didn't have much competition, which means I would take victory in the GT3 RS Cup, with the top 5 being the first 3 being new 2019s, and then 2 2016s. Keeping them relatively just in terms of lap times. They weren't too far off, all things considered. It was, yeah, just like the Sonoma laps, pretty darn close, but the new one did seem to have a bit more of an advantage overall in the course of the lap than the older ones. For the final lap, we would do a 3-heat race. 8 cars at the half-mile drag, and I'm starting off with a bit of a failure on the AI's part, with this guy that I'm following right here, the white car. I'm the green one next to him, and he decides that he no longer knows how to drag race. I'm pretty sure there were some drugs involved, because he is, forgetting how to stay in his lane. Yeah. Not a great way to start a drag race, and as you might expect, we did have to do a restart. Alright, next up this was the first actual round, and I get a very good start. The yellow car does not, and as you can see, I mean, the white car's drunk again, but whatever. It is very close. It is incredibly close. It does start to spread out a little bit more as we head towards the finish line with the... and you can see the final finishing results here. We have a very, very close call. The 2016 would claim victory with another one in second, another one in third. Mine would claim it'll be first for the 2016, second for the 2016, third and fourth going to the new 2019s, and then it would get very close with these two, but the orange car would take the W over the new one, and then we have old drunk boy over there in the 2016 rounding out the final. Yeah, he did not know. I'm pretty sure we should give him an alcohol test. He probably shouldn't be racing. We'll just leave it at that. Alright, for the second race, we will do once again. This time, no one was drunk, which is always a good thing. Everyone behaved themselves, and it was incredibly close. Again, it does begin to spread out a little bit, but you can see just how close it is as we head up to the finishing line. There you go. It was incredibly close between these guys. But, once again, it would be a 2016 that would take victory, followed up incredibly closely between these two 2016s and the 2019. I believe the 2019 would literally nose out the 2016 year. But it was incredibly close. And then we have the other 2019 coming home in fourth with this white 2016 in fifth. Mine he just knows me, who I in turn just knows the other yellow GT3 RS, which in turn just knows the other 2016. I mean, look at how close that field is. That is how it finished. That is an incredibly close field. That doesn't happen very often. From first place to 8th place was separated by 0.2 of a second. That's incredibly close to have a whole field of drag racers separated by 0.2 of a second. And for the final race, I would get a blistering start. I say a blistering start. I got half a car length away. And me and the 2016 are neck and neck. And slowly I missed a shift. And that really cost me. I wasn't quite last. I was getting very close though. And then the top two were right about to cross the line. It was once again another photo finish between the cheat. Look at that. That is... the game gave it to the 2016 right here in first. But I mean, look at how close those two cars are. And then look at third over there, claiming, well, third, with the 2016 again. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I would not be last, claiming 7th, with the other GT3 claiming 8th. And then it got all very close between the 2016 models, with that guy in 4th. And then the game gave it to the white car. But I mean, just look here, use their mirrors as an example. That is less than 5 inches. That is a... Remember in the movie Cars, where he sticks his tongue out to tie it? That is basically what's going on here. That is, I think, the closest drag race I have ever seen. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 neck-and-neck finishes in one race. That's literally the entire field in a neck-and-neck race between at least one person. So, what is the conclusion that we can draw from these very scientific tests? Absolutely nothing. The cars are basically identical in the half mile. In the full mile, I'm pretty sure the new ones would win just based on power. But in the half mile, the cars are identical. I mean, look at that. 3 different races, 3 photo finishes between old and new alike. Yeah, they're inseparable in the drag racing world, these 2 cars, and that is a result I did not expect. So, overall, if you were to go between the 2019 and the 2016, you would have to go with the 2019. But by a very slim margin, determined solely by the fact that it's better around a track overall. Because they look very similar, although I am a bit of a sucker for graphics on the side. I do like that. That is a nice touch. And I think the color scheme was greatly improved with the black highlights. But when it comes down to it, they handle pretty much identical. They look pretty much identical. And this one is a second a lap faster. Yeah, and it's the exact same speed in the drag race for the same time around, for a second faster on a track. Yeah, it does. The 2019 does claim victory in this one, but is it too bad to like both? I would personally pick the new one over the old one, for the simple reason of I think it looks better and it sounds better revving at 9,500 RPM. But really, they're inseparable in drag racing, and it's only a second faster on a track. And in racing situations, they only have a very marginal advantage around a proper race. So, while these 2 cars are pretty much identical, the 2019 does edge it out just enough to claim a victory. Yeah, it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. A lot closer than the 2019 Honda Civic rivalry. But overall, both fantastic cars. But the edge would go to the 2019 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. And with that mouthful out of the way, that's it for this episode. I'll be back with more.